Most importantly, the free market must drive alternative energy, not the federal government. We have seen the result of overemphasizing alternative energy record high gas prices, lost jobs, and an economy that continues to sputter. My hope is that the President will cut his losses and embrace the concept of using our country's domestic resources. We operate in a world where political sound bites and rhetoric appear to trump basic reality. It seems these days the President is caught up in campaigning rather than governing. Perhaps during his stay, he will begin to understand the tangible impacts of national policies on New Mexico and America as a whole. I am looking forward to our President meeting the wonderful people that make up our great state and our communities, and hope that he sees the reality many of his policies has created. We shall see what the future holds, but it could be that this visit will mark the beginning of a turning point for our great nation's leader. Sincerely, Representative Nora Espinoza. Thank y'all.
Louis, you want to read Candy's letter, or you want me to read it?
You know, I didn't go back and forth, right?
But I can guarantee you, Louis Derrick could do a better job reading Candy Spencer-Zell's letter than I could, because she put some fire and brimstone in her speeches. Candy could not be with us today because she's ill, but she did leave a letter for us to read, and I'll go ahead and read it. You can tell her I did my job, but probably didn't do it very good. But anyway, she says, "It's a height of hypocrisy for the President of the United States to come to southeastern New Mexico to show his support for the domestic oil and gas industry when the last 3 years he has attacked that same industry at every opportunity. The President has repeatedly said that he wants to end subsidies for what he has called the fuel of the past. But with gasoline approaching $4 a gallon and an election only 8 months away, he has suddenly decided to embrace the industry that he has long demonized. The Wall Street Journal reports that the President's 2013 budget, just like his 3 prior budgets, includes a dozen or so tax increases that would raise the industry's liability by $44 billion over the next decade, according to the White House. The American Petroleum Institute puts the figure closer to 85 billion. Hang on one. The oil and gas industry paid about $36 billion in corporate income taxes in 2009, which is the latest year for which the data is available. That figure does not count excise taxes, state taxes, rents, royalty, fees, and bonus payments. All told, the oil and gas industry pays the government $86 million every day, which is far more than the government collects from any other industry. The President constantly states that big oil is not paying its fair share. The Tax Foundation estimates that between 1981 and 2008, oil and gas companies sent more dollars to Washington than they sent to their shareholders as profits. By way of example, ExxonMobil said that in the 5 years prior to 2010, she didn't think I could read very well, so she put in a really big type. In 2010, it paid $59 billion in total U.S. taxes, while it earned $45 billion domestically. That's $1.45 in taxes for every dollar of profit. Exxon's 2010 tax bill was 3 times larger than domestic profits, not paying their fair share. And the President has the audacity to say that the oil and gas industry is subsidized. The Wall Street Journal reports that the effective tax rate for nuclear power is a negative 99.5%. That sounds like a subsidy. But what about the President's pet energy sources, wind and solar? Generating wind energy, which could be done today, is taxed at minus 163.8%, and solar is a minus 244.7%, and that was before the 2009 stimulus and things like our Solyndra investment that worked out to the taxpayers' great benefit, right?
Yeah, right.
The direct cash handouts that wind and solar get are true subsidies, And as for subsidies for oil and gas, that means President Obama wants to get rid of. They are deductions from taxes that cover the cost of doing business and earning income to be taxed in the first place. Quoting the Wall Street Journal, quote, "What Mr. Obama really means is that he wants to put the risky and capital-intensive process of finding and extracting and producing oil and gas at a competitive disadvantage against other businesses. He does so because he ultimately wants to make them more expensive than his favorites, the wind, solar, and ethanol industries. The president tells us he wants to lower prices at the pump, yet all of his energy policy decisions will lead to higher prices. Shame on you, Mr. President. Shame on you." If you know Candy Spence-Ezell, she is a rancher. She is not from the oil and gas industry. She's a rancher, and she is very vocal, speaking out and representing us on ag issues. But she obviously has done some research on the oil and gas tax issue, and I think all of our state representatives understand how dependent our state is upon that issue and upon the production of oil and gas. And that's why I think all of our representatives that have been up here today or represented would say, drill, baby, drill. At this time, we have several others. Kent Cravens, speaking of drill, baby, drill, Kent Cravens represents New Mexico Oil and Gas Association. He used to be a state senator from Albuquerque and resigned his post in the Senate to take over at New Mexico Oil and Gas Association, doing a great job lobbying for the industry, but he has a few words from the association today. Kent Cravens. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, sticking it out. It's a little bit breezy, but what a beautiful day. You know, I have a little history with Roswell. I was a cadet for a couple of years, just up the street. So any cadets out there that want to pop two real quick? Make you a little salute. Greg, thank you for asking me down. I do work for the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association. We represent about 300 plus oil and gas producers around the state. And that's about 90% of the production of oil and gas in our state. And we're very concerned about what we see going on. We hear a lot about, you know, the DSL. And people in Albuquerque think DSL is their internet connection. Well, it's a dune sagebrush lizard, and we all know that. But my job is to go around the state and try and articulate this and other issues to people so that they really understand what we're dealing with down here and who's in charge and what might be the outcome. Speaking of outcomes, you know, you hear about fair share. We always hear about what's their fair share. And a liberal's idea of fair share is equality in outcomes. Whereas a person that goes to work every day and works real hard to feed his family, a more conservative individual. I'm not talking Democrat, Republic, I'm just talking about philosophically a liberal versus a Democrat, or liberal versus a conservative. The other side of that coin is the equality of opportunity. And that's what we've developed here in southeast New Mexico and up in the northwest corner of New Mexico is tremendous opportunity. And so my message to you today is thank you. Thank you, southeast New Mexico, everyone in the Permian Basin that provides 30 to 40% of the state's revenue. Imagine every time we go out to build a new school, without the oil and gas industry, it's half. Every time we go to pave a road, we get one lane instead of two. Every time we build a senior center or have a community project that we need money for, because of the oil and gas industry in New Mexico, it's a full project, not a half a project. So my message to you today is thank you. I also have a message for the president. And the message is this: you can do two things today to help this problem go away. Number one, make the decision affirmatively to not list the lizards. It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary for all the reasons we've articulated this afternoon, so I won't go into it again. I'll tell you, the industry stepped up, the state stepped up, and the way the state stepped up is the state land commissioner actually signed an agreement to list a lot of state land in support of this effort. So, you know, we need a partner. We need the president to step up. We need the administration to step up. So that's my message to him. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for doing what you do, for for providing for New Mexico, and God bless. Greg, thank you again.
Thank you, Kent. And tell Mr. Hinkie, Executive Director at NMOGA, thank you for really getting this kicked off the ground last year. Some seed money that you all put in were the reason why we had 1,000 people at the hangar, and we appreciate that and your continued support on the issue. Thanks. This time, Guy Lutman and then Bobby Corn, we may wrap it up a little bit. If you guys want to stick around and see the airplane hit the ground, you can watch it fly. But Guy Lutman has an unusual accent. And a few years ago, we went to Washington, D.C. with our friends from Eddy County, and he took us on the Bataan Death March. If you know anything about Washington, D.C., Georgetown is not close to the Capitol. And we walked from a restaurant in Georgetown all the way back to a hotel up by the Capitol building, and Haley is bearing the scars to this day from that death march. So Guy Lutman, with that, you have a few things to say from Eddy County. He's been filming this and some other things that have really benefited issues in southeast New Mexico, and we appreciate it. Guy Lutman.
Thank you, Grit, for that wonderful introduction. Anybody needs an interpreter, my cousin over here, Lewis Derrick, will give you an explanation afterwards. But first of all, if anybody doesn't know me, Guy Lutman lives south of Eddy County. My swing state is Hope. That's where most of my people vote. I think there's 80 people there or something. But, you know, when I came on the commission, I was very, very naive about 7 years ago. I'm in my last year now, 8 years almost. And I've got to thank Lewis Derrick here. Give him a big round of applause, because for this guy here, I probably wouldn't get an education on your issues out here today. It's dear to my heart, let me tell you, to follow whatever your agenda is on this, because, you know, on the way up here, it's amazing technology today. I can call my sister in England on a cell phone. It costs me about 10 cents a minute. So I'm in my car and I call my sister and I tell her what I'm doing. She can't believe it. And I said, out of curiosity, how much is gas, petrol, in England a gallon? She said, you won't believe this, they're just doing their budget this year. It's the sort of government's budget thing. £7.50. Do you know how much that is in dollars? I mean, if there's a banker here, he'd know the exchange rate, but I think it's about $12 a gallon those English people are now paying for their gas. And you know what that's paying for? That's paying for all the welfare deals over there. That's paying for all those people that don't want to work or on handouts. You know, if my father was alive today, if my grandfather was alive today, they'd turn over in the grave to see what's happened in England. Because all they fought for in those wars over there is gone completely. And I tell you, this is what's going to happen if you're not careful and follow through of what's going on in this country in the future. But things are on the make, because this time next year you're going to have a change of government, and sadly our commission will be taking the credit for all those rules that have been undone. But let me tell you, the signs are obsolete, folks. You've got Lizard out there. Here's another one. Here's another one for your list. This is today's current Argus, Wednesday, March the 21st, 2012. I picked the paper up today. Frog found in Arizona. New Mexico gets habitat protection. Flagstaff, Arizona. The federal government is designating more than 10,000 acres of critical habitat for the rare spotted frog found in Arizona and New Mexico. Can you believe this? Okay, the acreage is west central and southwestern New Mexico, and so it goes on and on and on. But the frog's on the list as well, folks. This is the battle you've got. Now, when Lewis educated me with this, we started having more and more meetings with grassroots efforts, and thanks to Greg, thanks to a lot of people, mayors, people in Hobbs, we had meetings, and basically the message came out of that meeting was, you guys, city councillors, county commissioners, you're the grassroots, you represent the people, you can get the word out. So basically Lewis and I, Greg, we all put our heads together and said, well, we need to do something. Let's get a resolution. What's the resolution, Lewis? Well, he's the interpreter. So about 2 weeks later, Eddy County put a resolution together. Then we got the other counties nearby to do it, city councillors. We, about 2 months ago, had the Association of Counties meeting, the big convention. All the counties in New Mexico go to Santa Fe, and we also see our legislators. You've probably been up there. We decided we would try and get that association of counties, all our counties in New Mexico, to follow this small resolution. When I shared it with Lewis, he said, well, I won't mention what he said. Well, I can probably half say. He said, well, you may be lucky.